Hello there, everyone, and welcome to your special presentation this week titled Best Stocks to Buy Post-Presidential Election. So certainly timely, right? My name is Steve Chappell, the Director of Trading Systems Development here at VectorVest, and so I'm just delighted to be your coach again this time for this wonderful presentation. I think you're really going to get a lot out of it. And I want to kick things off just by kind of an old philosopher's statement. Many, many years ago, Lao Tzu, who once said, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, or teach a man to fish, and you can feed him for a lifetime. And so I love that. And more importantly, I'm going to love having the opportunity here to jump into VectorVest and actually teach you how to find the big fish, not just the little ones, the big ones, right? That's what we want. We want big fish. All right, let's get to it. So this is just a quick snippet of the article that we looked at here kind of as a group at the end of the day. And it's called or titled Best Stocks to Buy If Trump or Harris Wins in 2024. It was written on October 21st, 2024 by Robert Doherty, who's a big time contributor for them. And it was a really well laid out article. I got to give him a lot of kudos on that. And, you know, within each of the segments that we'll be discussing are some stock picks, that were provided in those segments. And you see a lot of very familiar names, of course, attached to those symbols. So those symbols are going to be accounted for in these kinds of groups. Okay, if Harris wins, you might get a much different collection of groups and stocks that are going to perform compared to a Trump presidency, right? So with Harris, the main focus would be on healthcare services, infrastructure with a green focus, clean energy and electric vehicles, technology with a cybersecurity focus, and of course the cannabis industry. If Trump were to win, you'd be looking more like energy stocks, defense contractors, financial services, infrastructure, pharmaceutical companies, things that really thrived under the prior Trump presidency. Or there are some groups out there that likely do very well no matter who wins, right? And so we don't want to lose sight of that either. That's the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest decisions. Big tech, obviously, consumer staples, healthcare innovation, and small caps tend to do really well, historically at least, after presidential elections. So all that in mind, let's jump over into VectorVest and begin to take a look through these groups by way initially of their symbols. The easiest way for me with this article to start broaching this topic and finding the big fish was to take the fish that were provided and see if I can find some bigger ones, right? So let's get over in VectorVest, take a peek. All right, so first things first, you'll likely be starting right from a home page. You're going to go to Viewers, and then you're going to make your way to Watch List Viewer. Okay, so likely you'll be starting on the Viewers kind of start screen here, the Viewers home. You'll click the Go to Watch List Viewer button in the middle, or you can use this directory on the left, whichever is easiest. And then what I did was just create a group. So up here at the top, you can create a new group. I named mine Forbes Election Article. Then you can create watch lists within that group when you've got it selected. Okay, and then so I just typed a few in here. We've got, well, if Harris or Trump win, that's a list of stocks, right? We've got if Harris wins, the emphasis on those particular market segments. With the Trump wins, or better picks provided by VectorVest through the process that I'm going to demonstrate. All right, so that's the best part. Now, let's focus with Harris win, okay? So if we start first with Harris, one of the things that I think I immediately do when I start looking at lists like this, all right, what's our starting point, right? What's the overall health of the stocks that are being picked here just in general? Realizing that there could be a dramatic change coming with a change in, leadership. Yeah, I get all that, but where are we starting from, right? So if we come down to the bottom to the watch list average, the two things that we're going to pay primary focus to are the fundamentals, the RV and the RS, right? We all understand the markets have come down enough where we received a confirmed down call just yesterday, right? So I expect to see, as a group, some low relative timing numbers on these lists right now. But, what's the fundamental makeup? What's the upside potential? How safe are they? And as a group, right? So the upside is, we'll call it a good rating with RV and RS. right? So we've got some good upside and we've got some good safety to go with that. So it's not a bad start. Means they did some homework here, which is good. The question becomes, can we improve on it? And certainly you would expect the harder stocks to improve upon are going to be the ones at the very top of this list because they're ranked by VST every time we put a watch list together, right? So your stronger candidates go to the top, your weaker ones go to the bottom. So it's going to be far easier to improve the lower ranked ones than it is going to be to improve the higher ranked ones. But generally, from these lists, it's worth doing this exercise on all of them, even though I might start with some of the lower hanging fruit today, because generally there's room for improvement almost across the board. And as I went through each of these stocks yesterday, we're not going to do the complete thing today because it would take far too long. Okay, what we're going to focus on is showing you how you can do this yourself. We're going to teach you how to fish and feed yourself for a lifetime. All right, so what I'm going to do is just take, it could be a random stock on the list, really. But, well, since we said low-hanging fruits at the bottom, we'll just start there. It makes the initial learning process here all that much easier. So, we're dealing with a low-price stock in this case. The one nice attribute is it is undervalued, right? Value's coming in at $1.90. Trading currently at $1.66. So we're off to a reasonably good start. However, we get to RV and we see the upside potential is certainly subpar compared to a lot of the stocks that are on this list. One then begs the question, are there better upside potential stocks at all in the space? Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll see. The safety rating certainly seems like it could be improved, and maybe even the timing, right? Because that's a pretty low score. So we realized big change could come, and we realized names like Canopy and Tilray have been prolific winners when marijuana stocks were really hot. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of those stocks were really hot, right? And so let's see what we get when we double click on Tilray. That's a little trick there. Hopefully you caught that. To find stocks that are almost of the exact same caliber, all you do is just double click, because that opens up the industry group. I can see here at the top, I'm in healthcare marijuana, is how we label our industry that Tilray is in. We'll show you a little bit later here how you can broaden it out even more and say, I just want to look at healthcare. Remember, that was primary focus for Harris Win anyway, right? That's the sector. So the sector is healthcare. The industry group is marijuana stocks, okay? So is Tilray at the top by way of best combinations of value, safety, and timing? And the answer to that question is no. High Tide is. High Tide carries a little higher price. It's a little bit over its value. However, still has a tremendous amount of upside potential compared to a lot of the other stocks in this industry group. Safety rating, a lot higher than most of the stocks in this industry group. Relative timing, a lot higher than most of the stocks in this industry group. So you get the picture? Much better combination of those three factors. That's why it's at the top of the list. We look out here to the right. They just became profitable on a forward basis here recently, about a year or so from now, and they're growing at 34%. So they're growing fast, right? So if we come down and find Tilray, we have to scroll down a little bit, actually. And we look across, and well, while it's under its value a little bit, its upside is not nearly as strong. Well, why is that? If it's under its value, well, you come out here to the right, and they're losing 9 cents per share and growing out of that at only 8%. So it's going to take them a little while yet to be profitable on even a forward basis, right? And so hopefully all of this is starting to resonate. Can we find better picks than the ones provided in VectorVest? And the answer to that question is yes. You absolutely can. In this case, maybe many that are better. So for example, if we come up back here towards the top, I'll give you some other very familiar names in this space that a lot of people, if you know marijuana stocks, will be familiar with. You've got Sundial, Organigram, Kronos. These, Aurora, I think, is up here somewhere. But, these are, there's Aurora right there. These are also very widely well-respected and were prolific climbers last time marijuana stocks, went on a tear. And so with some legislation, some meaningful legislation, these kinds of stocks could absolutely go ballistic. It really could. One only has to look at the charts. So the next thing, we've just compared numbers. The next thing you might want to do is get a frame of reference for what does Tilray look like. Let's look at the chart and investigate it a little bit. Say, all right, with a change in administration, or at least a change in presidency, could this be a stock that gets back to 30 again? Well, absolutely could. It got there before, right? And it got there before in spades, and earnings has improved a decent amount from way back then when everybody got excited. So yeah, these things definitely could go ballistic. Okay. Now, imprint this chart pattern in your mind. This is what it looks like now. And if it were me, I'd rather have a little better run up, a little bit more resiliency currently with some, if I could still get that same kind of explosiveness, right? So if we come back here to the top, and we look at certainly high tide, and I'm also going to look at this IIPR for another very specific reason. I think it's important to people interested in this space. But so let's graph these two, okay? Let's look at the charts. We already know they got much better numbers. We're going bottom left to upper right here. And look at this, a little bit of explosiveness. It looks like a flag. You got this pole. Let me draw this out here a little bit. Generally speaking, this likes to break out north and run up the distance it ran coming in. At least get back to the highs typically. So this looks like a much better candidate heading in if it's got the same kind of explosiveness. Does it? Oh yeah. Certainly. Now, maybe not to the same degree, but explosiveness is there, right? And they're already heading off in a much better position, kind of coming into that potential leadership change, right? So very, very nice to see that. Now, this other one here, I like for some very specific reasons. One, you will not find a stock making more money than IIPR in this space. And with explosion in the space, a more amenable backdrop to good financial progress for these companies, you would only expect this to continue to improve because these guys do the real estate and the facility kind of thing. So, it doesn't matter who survives, as long as some do. They're going to be in great shape, which is why they're in great shape now, and why they traded $129 instead of $2. But earnings is continuing to soar, and that's going to continue to drive prices higher and higher. And in this case, you're going to pay a premium because it's the only one that's been able to do this in the space. So you might be learning it for the first time. If you've owned VectorVest and have investigated this space, you should have also seen this kind of thing for a very long time. And the other nice thing about these guys, IIPR, which would be, those two would be my ultimate picks here. One for each different kind of person. I mean, if you're more aggressive, high tide, or taking a gamble on Aurora or a Kronos, or even the Tilray, those are all stocks that should really do well. I think some of these have better numbers, can do better. If you're somebody who wants to go about things in the safest way possible, realizing, this is a much riskier market segment than just about any other, there's a stock in here with a safety rating north of 1. And it's the only one, as far as I can remember. We can sort by it just to verify. Right? And that puts, it's the only one with a safety rating over 1, okay? You come out here to the right, and this is what might push some folks over the top. Where my scroll bar went. So there we go. We'll slide it out here on IIPR. And you're getting a dividend yield to own this stock of 587. Now, it does look somewhat unsustainable because their earnings yield's 467. So the safety rating's quite low here. Let's say it cuts in half. That's still a very, very, dare I say, strong dividend yield these days. It still seems low when we think back to the days of the yield premium, right? But my goodness, the only one, mind you, in this whole space offering a dividend. So strong chart pattern, much better numbers than the Tilray, and, far superior, just about everything, right? So IIPR would be my ultimate pick, if I were to pick in this space. Those that want to get a little bit more aggressive, your Tilrays, your organograms might be a little bit even better. Chronos, those are all very good names in VectorVest. Some better than others. Okay, so that's how you go about it. That's the process. First, you might want to pause, the screen. You can jot these down. These are for Harris, right? Then get them in your own watch list. Title it how you like. Just remember it's the Harris victory stocks, right? And then go through this process. And eventually that means we'll get to this better picks where I've put together some stocks on the work that I did leading up to this presentation. Not that I did a 100% comprehensive list, but on what I looked at, some names that you ought to think about. Okay. Now, when we go to the Trump win, let's say, right? If Trump were to win, let's pick something here we might be able to do some good with. And let's go more towards the top of the list. That way you get and enough off the top where, JP Morgan is probably the best bank. Not probably, it is. So we'll go to Vulcan Metals. There are a couple other options in that space, but let's go to Vulcan Metals here. And I want to show you a different approach. So if you slide out here to the right on Vulcan Metals, I don't know why that deselected. And I can't see the complete names here for industry and sector. I can come down here, auto fit all columns. Now I'll be able to see them. So you'll have your industry and sector listed. Now building makes a lot of sense just in general. So this might be a case where you're willing to broaden out and look more sector just to begin with, just like healthcare, right? So you can double click and look just at the building cement. You can right click and look at industry group and just look at building, cement, etc. Or you can right click and view stocks in sector. And so that's what we're going to do this time, just to show you how this part works. So a window will pop up, and in that window now you're just in building, not building, cement, etc., just building sector. And lo and behold, when you do it this way, you get one of the very best rated stocks in VectorVest complete database. Okay, and that's this IESC Holdings. You're going to see why here in a minute. Look at the upside potential here. Are you kidding me? We're getting up into NVIDIA territory here with that. That means their earnings and earnings growth are through the roof, okay? Growing fast. And along with that, you're getting an excellent score. Anything over 142 is hard to achieve. Anything over 1.4 is hard to achieve in VectorVest. 142 it's an excellent rating, okay? So I get all the upside in the world basically with excellent safety behind it. Very consistent, predictable earnings. This is hopefully for some of you an aha moment. Oh my gosh. All right. So I can take some of these things, ideas that I have, I can put them in a list. I can double click or I can right click, view the sector, and I might find some even better stuff that I wasn't even thinking about, And in this case, man, there's more things that these folks should have been thinking about. So, USLM, EME, Fix. Comfort System, great stock. Sterling, great. These are great stocks. Look at these numbers, okay? Right? And so, boy, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Right click, view the stock graph. If you didn't believe me before, maybe now you believe me now. Price, absolute tear, bottom left to upper right. It's gone from what was nearly $50 a year ago to $226 in 1 year. Well, that means it certainly can't go any higher than that, Steve. You want to bet? The market's got to hold together here. Remember, market timing trumps everything. So we shouldn't be buying any of these things, even after the election, until we start seeing some green lights price column again. You with me? But if you think the party's over, look down here at the bottom. This earnings per share. Hopefully everybody that's watching this has been through Successful Investor. That's the engine that drives the bus. This is the engine that drives stock prices higher and higher and higher. So if you're ever worried about, am I buying a stock that's too high, look no further than down there at the bottom. And my friends, that's not only continuing to grow steadily. It's accelerating as we speak. So yeah, market holds together here, holds together through a Harris presidency. I would say probably either in this case, actually. But, nothing's probably going to slow down IESC. So, this is just a great pick overall. I can't say enough about that one. People that know me well, in the Jockey Club, whatever, we've been making a big deal about that stock for a long time. Okay? Almost like NVIDIA. If you don't own it, you got to tell us why, kind of thing. It's that good. Okay? So I'm going to get out of here, go back to our lists. But that's the exercise. I mean, it's not any more difficult than that. You just take some of the stocks provided in an article, or maybe it was on Fast Money last night, or whatever the case might be. Get them in a watch list, check them out. They might be the very best pick. Like in some cases, they are. In the research that I did, like Google is pretty hard to beat when you get into the Mag 7. NVIDIA is pretty hard to beat. It can't be beat here lately, right? So there's some picks that that just can't be beat, right? But there are a vast majority of the picks can. Is the other thing that you learn when you start going through this process. Okay, so the reason I'm sticking on these screens for a little while is so that folks can write the symbols down. You can pause the video, write the symbols down, and you can put them in your own list. These were from the article for both. You can go back and, if you didn't do it before, pretty sure I told you to, but you could pause and write those down too, okay? And then here's a list for either Harris or Trump, doesn't matter. Remember, this was big tech, small caps, that kind of thing. So yeah, Google makes Walmart, Microsoft. Hard to argue with this list, except, I don't know, maybe Moderna. So why does he say that? Well, let's come over here to the left. We get in here and you got 54.26. It's trading twice its value. Well, Steve, that's because government tends to give them a lot of money, and boy, that's the new thing is this RNA and everything. Well, look, there might be some other companies out there that are doing mo better. Okay, so let's double click. We double click, we're still sorted by VST. We get a lot of potential options that come to the top. Now, this is the Drug Biomedical Genetic Industry Group. Now, look, if you don't know much about drug biomedical genetic, this is a very tough batch of stocks to deal with typically, with few exceptions. There are some really mighty stocks in here. What do you think might be the quickest way to get to those? How about if we sort by safety? So now look, Angie's written a lot of great articles all year. Some of my favorites have been centered around really showing you guys that relative safety is the single best indicator you have in VectorVest for long-term performance. So if we're talking about investing and not trading, right, that is the one ingredient that you want to see high as possible. Right, so that leads you towards Vertex, DSNKY, and GMed and Regeneron. Oh, wait, look at this little booger here. Okay, so I've got a very good safety rating, and look at the upside. Okay, and you might say, well, you get some of that there too, right? So you're getting much better combinations here. The problem with Vertex is, they're just not growing that much right now. Now, that could change, of course. But these folks are persisting through right now, and I would venture to say then likely continue that, right? And if we look at sort of the value to price relationship here with United Therapeutic, let's just look at the chart. By the way, does anybody see Moderna on the list of symbols over there? I'm still looking for it. Okay, let me click on View Stock Graph. Look at that. I mean, you can sit there and wait around all day for Moderna, to turn back up again. And when it does, it might explode because that's a name people like to flock to and all that kind of stuff, right? But you might wait around a lot longer than you think. So why wouldn't you get involved in a company that's already making money? Look at this is the same scenario. Look at earnings down here, and look, it's accelerate. Look at the hard right edge. It is exploding right now. It's not losing steam. Value's trying to run away from price. Holy moly. UTHR, absolute no-brainer in my book. Could they hit a bump in the road down in the future? Yeah. Most companies do, right? Do you think they're probably going to be able to survive it? Oh, yeah. Why? Track record, baby. Every once in a while, you're going to have to sit through a little of this, right? But then the next thing that comes is we start ramping. And we're ramping right now, right? I'd rather be on a company that's ramping up rather than trying to even get the ramp out of the shed. Okay? All right, so that's how you do it. Doesn't need to be any more difficult than that. I did come up with a list of things that I thought were interesting from some of the, I wouldn't say I did an exhaustive list or anything like that. So you can find some even better ones maybe than what we got here. But the one thing that I want to point out, when I click on Better Picks, and I think I looked at maybe 3 in each of the lists, and then just, hey, could I find a couple of things that look better to me in relation to the picks that were given in the article? This is the culmination of that, okay? So we've got IESC at the top, USLM, Interactive Brokers versus Goldman Sachs, for example, CRH, Piper, really, really good, Vertiv, really good stocks in here. General Dynamics, and even mixed in some of those marijuana stocks. Just, we looked at them, so we're going to mix them in there, and that's going to bring our numbers down a little bit. But look down here, 139 upside potential, 124 safety. Okay, so these are stocks as a unit, even with those marijuana stocks mixed in, that have very good safety rating with nearly excellent upside potential. And for an entire portfolio, say, these are exceptionally good numbers. Most importantly, they're all rising in price as a unit, at least. The comfort index for the whole group, these stocks go up far more often than they go down. That's what that number means. How closer you get to 2, the better. Okay. Earnings growth across the whole basket's 21%. That is strong, man. They're making about $8, almost $9 on average. That's how you do it. Doesn't have to be any more difficult than that. And there's some better ones out there, but I want you to go find it. Well, there's not very many that are better than IESC. But I want you to go find them. All right? I'm not going to give you the fish. I taught you how to fish, and now you go do it. Because then you don't need me anymore. You can feed yourself for a lifetime. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed that. That kind of stuff, it can change your life. It really can. And so the whole trick is focus on what matters to you as an individual the most. If it's long-term performance, really focus on that safety. It's also really nice to get the best of both worlds, where you got the high safety ratings and the high RV scores, the high upside potential on those good, safe stocks. Hard to beat. We'll see you guys next time right here at VectorVest University. See you then.